tonight, and again, congratulations on what was a great personal performance, but a great team performance as well from the Sydney Swans.
Thanks so much.
Logan McDonald, 3 goals tonight. He also had 16 disposals to his name, 11 kicks, 5 handballs, took 5 marks as well. He's impressive for a young man who's still, I think you could say, still just finding his feet at the level.
Yeah, he is, but you also need to go through that phase of entering the AFL where you do need to find your feet. It's only natural, and we often speak about the tall forwards take a little bit longer. You got Buddy Franklin, who could be and should be one of the greatest educators known to man with what he's been able to do. You've got Sam Reid, who I've spoken about multiple times tonight, who plays a pivotal role. You've got to cover other younger players around you at any particular time that are learning their craft. But if you don't have the senior players that are doing the bulk of the work, then your job's really, really difficult. And we're seeing that with some of the teams lower on the ladder. They're being asked to do things that they're not quite capable of yet. But Logan McDonald is capable. But he's capable of doing what he needs to do, knowing that you've got these senior guys around you. And arguably the Sydney Swans, and I'm thinking Hawthorn over the last decade or so, Geelong are brewing at it as well, have been able to drip feed these really good young players in. And before you know it, you look through their team sheet, you go, geez, Logan McDonald's played 50, 60, 70 games, and he's 5 years into his career, and he's already a pretty solid player, isn't he? They sort of sneak up on you a little bit, and I feel like Logan McDonald's that player. What we saw tonight is he's not being asked to do anything he's not capable of. He's just doing what he's really good at already.
So I mentioned earlier the loss of Franklin for the suspension. How important is it for these youngsters to have some of those games where they've got to accept the challenge and the responsibility of being one of the primary targets, rather than it's so focused on Buddy, which at times I feel can distract from how they move the ball in 50. They were a little more unpredictable tonight. Reid stood up, McDonald stood up, Papley stood up at stages as well. How important is it, even though I know you want Buddy out there week in, week out, because what he can do is freakish, but how important is it for these younger guys to step up and take responsibility?
It's extremely important, and that's the ability of good sides to be able to do. Sometimes you want your best team on the park and your best players, but unfortunately sometimes due to injury, suspension, whatever it may be, you need guys to be able to step up. And I think, as you spoke about pre-game, Sam Reid, he did that in spades, and so did Logan McDonald. So you get Buddy conscious. Obviously you get the footy you're looking forward, Buddy's there, you're going to kick it to him, 9 times out of 10. So these other guys to be able to get their looks in. And then when Buddy comes back in, the guys have that confidence that these guys can perform. They can get the footy to them. So once they're early in their career, sometimes you're just a little bit, you're a one-trick pony, but it just adds another dimension. I think Hayward was a little bit quiet tonight, but I love how he goes about it. He's took some really nice contested marks, but he's a goal kicker. Papley, when he's up and about, Parker as well, he can sneak forward from the midfield and kick goals. But I think they've got some really good variety up forward as well, and to have the big man out, that's at John Longmire's disposal, it'd be pleasing.
My initial thoughts on that is it is really nice for some of these other guys to be the main men, but you don't want him to be the main man, because I want to see Buddy Franklin for the rest of my life. So I was a little bit disappointed when he got suspended last week, knowing that I was covering tonight's game. And every time I cover a Sydney Swans game, I want Bud to be there, because I just want to have one of those moments in my life from a selfish perspective. I was at the MCG when they took on the D's on that Saturday cold night in the middle of June, and Buddy Franklin did this. So when he got the week, I was like, damn, I'm going to have to wait again. So, but anyway, no, it was a fantastic, well-rounded performance, I thought, from the Swans tonight.
And he probably would have done something special, given the way that the game was poised. It was set up perfectly for a Buddy Franklin highlight, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be. If you're just joining us, it was the Swans tonight by 12 points, 10-13-73, defeating Melbourne 9-7-61. We'll work our way through the awards as we continue the wrap-up of this game as part of our post-game show. Thanks to VRGF Gamblers Help. Call someone who gets it. Call Gamblers Help. The MEGT Rookie of the Day, your local apprenticeship experts.
Well, there was no actual genuine rookies tonight from my calculations.
Which for this award, they have to have debuted this year.
So if my numbers are right, there is nobody that's debuted this year. Is that correct?
I think yes.
So can I just go with Logan McDonald then as the best young player?
Yes.
I just
in his 16th game.
I just want to mention him again because I thought he was superb. There we go. Logan McDonald's got the MEG Rookie of the Day.
Supporting employers and apprentices for over 40 years. I've got to feel like his name might come up a few times in these awards. The crucial moment for New Farm, Australian through and through.
I think it was in the second quarter. There was obviously the Swans are struggling a little bit. I think Florent coming back off the half-back line he had the ability to come back through the corridor, real dangerous kick. Logan McDonald got it on the end of it, and I think that sort of really started to get them back within the game and get that confidence, and I thought their second quarter was outstanding.
It's twice his name come up in the two awards so far. The player power rankings for Red Energy, owned by Snowy Hydro, a renewable energy leader. You mentioned, Dale, that it was a fairly even spread across the board for the Swans. How did that affect the player power rankings?
So I was going to look through the numbers. So Max Gawn was the leader on the ground. So from Adi's perspective, Max Gawn, Andrew Brayshaw, Clayton Oliver, Jack Viney, Christian Salem. And from the Sydney Swans perspective, Mills, Reid, Lloyd, Heaney, and Logan McDonald as well.
3 from 3
times.
Tackle or tackler of the game for Toro. Count on Toro to get the job done.
Logan McDonald had a couple of tackles, but unfortunately he didn't get this award. It was for Tom McCartan, the chase down. Well, initially it was a corral on Cozzy Pickett right in front of us, and then it was a chase down tackle, which was holding the football just before the siren at three-quarter time. And what I loved about it, the siren went moments later. The 4 players on the bench from the Sydney Swans sprinted onto the ground, went to the half-back line where the tackle was laid, and all gave a massive high-five to Tom McCartan. That was the tackle of the game.
For Toro, count on it to get the job done. The Amy Clanger for good. Who covers Clangers? Amy does.
The Clangers, I think it was the third quarter misses for the Demons. They certainly had opportunities and they had the momentum swing in their favour, but unfortunately they weren't able to convert and left the door ajar, and the rest is history.
There was only one goal in that term. It did go to Melbourne, but they kicked 5 behinds as well, so they had the opportunities to break away and weren't able to convert. On the other side of the equation, the Swans only managed 2 behind, so it was a pivotal moment in the game. Who covers Clangers on and off the field? Amy does. The injury report for Victor Sports. Sign up your club, victorsports.com.au. Colin O'Riordan went out of the game early, was subbed out after that knock
to the head. It was the Max Gawn collision on the far side, on the Shane Warne stand side. Ben Ronk was the medical sub. He came on. There was also the Petty massive collision. He went down into the rooms, had the right shoulder re-strapped. I could only assume he's had some local anaesthetic put in it for him to be able to get through the game. A brave effort, I must say, for him to be able to, the way he carried his arm off the ground, he wasn't coming back on, but then he did. He fronted up, and he was actually pretty solid for the second half as well. So that was a really good effort by him.
And down the other end of the ground, Ben Brown and Tom McCartan also had a collision. They both looked a bit ginger, but then Tom McCartan found a way and looked like he was unhappy.
Heaney came off.
Yeah, right. Importantly, though, for the Swans, they have the bye, so that'll probably help.
It always feels like, and this may be winding the clock back a little bit, I know they've changed their style, but of all the teams that I ever played against, I'm not sure if you were the same, Craig, Sydney was the team you knew that you just played 2 hours of football against. They were so combative. They were, and maybe it was because they were more of a stoppage-based team. It was very in-tight and very physical. But you always knew that it was a hard day of football after you played the Sydney Swans. Whether you won, you lost, or anything in between, shocking team to play against. Yep. Always hurt.
I'll second that.
Always hurt.
So you didn't go well against them?
No, I don't think I ever got a kick either, which probably didn't help. When you lose, you don't get a kick in your sore.
It would have been rare for you not to get a kick. Nick?
Any highlights from your games against the Swans, Craig?
No, I actually didn't play too well against them. No.
Well, it was difficult when we're probably going one in the clock back 10 or so years. They used to tag everybody. So how could you ever get a kick when 18 players from the opposition are tagging someone? There was no space. Couldn't run anywhere.
Good thing a few other guys just did what they did, and everyone else got tagged. Crouch,
Shocking.
I think I played on Crouch. He didn't give you nothing.
He was like the glove. Crouch, he was a shocker.
And that was an element not as severe as what you two gentlemen are pointing out now.
Actually, can I just say, we like the Sydney Swans. We're just reminiscing when we used to hate them.
But their pressure and intensity tonight was a feature of the game, which wrestled the momentum back. When it was feeling just as though it was escaping their grasp, they dialed up the pressure and tackling intensity, and that changed the dynamic of the game.
Yeah, Nick made a note of that early in the game, just their frontal pressure as well, just to be able to come at the ball carrier and trust that their teammate was going to come behind, because Melbourne, that's where they've been so great, to be able to create that overlap footy when teams are not quite sure whether to come back and corral a little bit. They just do it so well and make decisions on the move and adapt like first class. So their pressure on the footy and in transition to be able to turn it over and use it with efficiency was absolutely spot on.
Well, they had 75 tackles tonight, 22 more than the D's. So that probably highlights in a really close game. To have that much more pressure was significant.
The player of the day for Mildura Regional Development. Looking for an exciting weekend trip away, visit mildura.com.au.
Well, I couldn't go without saying about Tom Papley's celebration with his goal, but I thought that ball was in a dispute in the half-back line. Warner won it, got it forward, and this just the ability to be able to read it off his boot, got in the right position, took that mark, and I think just the energy, and Logan McDonald spoke about that, it certainly got the team up and about, and I really love that play.
We'll continue with the awards on the other side of the break, but from a Melbourne perspective, we've spoken a lot about the Sydney Swans and the confidence boosting, particularly for a side that we consider is on the rise. We consider to be a challenger, even though the flat couple of weeks probably put a question mark over that. What about Melbourne? So last week was described as the reality check. That was the moment that they needed, so to speak. How do we describe tonight then for the Ds?
You don't want to jump off too quickly, but what we have seen in the last fortnight, and I was here last week, and they lost by 38 points. So it wasn't just they just got beaten. And at half-time last week, I spoke to Simon Goodwin. I said, so much is going right. Like, what more do you want out of the game? And he said, yeah, everything's pretty much going to plan. Then in a blink of an eye, Freo Dockers turned the whole thing on its head. So we're probably talking about now, well, it's a half last week and probably at least another half tonight where they didn't have control of the game. And there's probably been more lack of control, less control they've had than the previous, coming up 12 months, whatever the actual specific numbers are. But you can't jump off them. I mean, they've got a handful of players still out of the team. They're clearly, I think, going through the motions. And I look at their first 7 or 8 weeks of the year, and they had that one half against the Saints where they'd set themselves and they had to prove a point against a team that had been going relatively well at that stage. But outside of that, I feel like they're in that mode of we're waiting for September. We'll ramp it up when we have to. Yet they haven't been putting in the kill shots early, and they could have done that tonight.
So Simon Goodwin said on radio earlier in the week, you don't want to lose, but you get another set of information. It reaffirms what is important to you. What's the set of information they got out of tonight?
Oh, but then also when you're the hunted and to be able to stay up for such a long period of time, it's hard to do, and everyone's just coming for you. And then, as I said, the last couple of weeks, certainly not going to be able to get off them. But I think Simon Goodwin will, obviously you want to be winning games of footy, but he'll just be saying we need to just be able to get back to our brand. There's a few things that didn't work. These are our room for improvements. This is what we do well. We need to keep doing what we do well, but we just need to tighten up on a few other areas. So it wouldn't be panic stations by no stretch of the imagination.
I think what they're learning is contests. So we just heard Logan McDonald speak about it. When you play against the Ds, you've got to compete in the contest. Same thing last week. When they started losing that second half against Freo controlled the clearances, controlled the contested possessions, and they controlled the game.
Swans by 12 points at the MCG. Matthew Cox, Andrew Cracker and Nick Del Santo with you on AFL Nation.
You're listening to the 2022 Premiership season on AFL Nation for Beaumont Tiles. Hybrid flooring in store now.
Real Adventures with Patrick Dangerfield and Aaron Hapgood. Everything fishing, boating and outdoors.
6,500 metres deep below the Indian Ocean's surface. Still in Australian waters. They've set out their underwater machine to head down to check out the bottom, and the piece of equipment's worth $100,000. And on the end of it was a $30 yabby trap, which found this new creature, the little snailfish.
Patrick Dangerfield and Aaron Hapgood. Subscribe and listen today wherever you get your podcasts.
Good mark to Wilson. He plays on at full pace and kicks a beauty to Thomas. Thomas gives off to Harris. Harris closes in on 50. But wait, he's tackled by Smith. Or is it Williams? Williams scrabbles for the ball. Kicks it to a guy in blue who kicks it to some other guy in blue. Now some tall bloke has the ball. He kicks it to an even taller bloke. Kick. Handball. Kick. Don't miss the best bits. You won't miss a moment if you drink Wise. Proudly brought to you by Drinkwise.
Join Caroline Wilson and Corey Perkin for their weekly podcast, Don't Shoot the Messenger, filled with their insights into the latest news and a little sport, good local tips, and plenty of recommendations on what they're reading, watching, and whipping up in the kitchen.
It's not all bad news going into winter, everybody. These are my tips on how to take care of yourself and conserve yourself through winter. Ginger, it's the best in everything. Put it in everything that you cook. It ties up everything in a nice neat bow. All the downstairs carrots
characters get a major crack. Look, let's face it, Corey, we all cried at the end. The amazing fact is, A, he's denying it. B, nobody thought to turn off the screen. 9 or 10 ABC employees saw the entire thing, some of whom are receiving counselling.
You'll find the Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast on the SEN app or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks to Red Energy, most satisfied customers 11 years in a row. Maybe it's time you called Red Energy on 131 806.
Footy fans, the AFL record has all your news and analysis. Read how the pieces in the Premiership puzzle are starting to fall into place for the Fremantle Dockers and their coach, Justin Longmuir. Enjoy weekly features like the Kids page and team lists, plus a special on Hawthorn Premiership teammates Luke Bruce and Liam Shields ahead of their milestone 250th game. Brought to you by 4 and 20, Australia's original fan food. The AFL Record Round 12 edition. Available on game day and still only $5.
Hi, it's Adam Liao. Australian Made Week kicks off on the 6th of June, and it's time to celebrate and support our local makers and growers all around the country. Buying authentic Aussie products with the Australian Made logo helps boost our economy, supports local business, and creates jobs right across Australia. So, look for the famous green and gold logo and buy something genuinely Aussie this Australian Made Week. Because Australian Made makes Australia.
Download the SEN app from the Apple and Google App Stores. Then get set for all your big moments in sports.
Ash on the forehand cross, Gossie's done it. Ash Barty. Jalawa shot for three. He's striking them pure.
Listen to any SEN show from around Australia and New Zealand.
Gary White and Tim Watson.
This is Trackside.
Tim Gossett. Bears and Izzy for breakfast.
Ansley.
Plus, it's now available on Apple CarPlay. The SEN app, your home of sport, from wherever you are on the planet.
Want to win the ultimate 2022 Toyota AFL Grand Final VIP experience? Thanks to Choices Flooring, you and a mate could be mixing with the stars at some of the biggest events of the footy season. Experience all the hype of Grand Final week firsthand, then be at the big match itself, the 2022 Toyota AFL Grand Final. Prize includes all tickets, 6 nights accommodation and return flights. Visit iCanWin.com.au and you could win thanks to Choices Flooring. AFL authorised GF promotion, GFAFL 22/07.
You're listening to the 2022 Premiership season on AFL Nation for Beaumont Tiles. Hybrid flooring in store now.
Cool footy experts Matthew Cox, Andrew Cracker and Nick Del Santo with you from the MCG as we continue our recap into the Swans' 12-point victory over the reigning premiers tonight. 9-7-61 the D's going down to the Swans 10-13 at 73 the final score. And our match wrap, all thanks to rolled, fast, fresh Vietnamese. They're good with rolled. It's fast, it's fresh.
How good are they as well?
They are. Good go.
These rolls.
A little bit of a plum sauce.
Something making me
roast pork, a bit of crackle.
You guys.
Crackle?
Hey,
Yeah.
roast pork.
Can you?
Yeah.
You get some crackle in it.
Of course you can.
Can you?
The banh mi
That
rolls,
was always
mate.
on the side.
No, get them in there, brother. A little bit of crunch.
all right.
Different texture, Nick.
Body's a temple, guys.
Oh,
If you say so, my arms are rubber arms, so I'm straight in.
Hang on, yeah. How many jelly lollies are left in that packet?
Well, they came half eaten anyway. I'd already knocked off half of them before I got here on the way. Can I just say something? I'm just watching young Toby Bedford, who was the medical sub for the D's tonight. This has to be the worst part of being an AFL player right now. Like, they speak about ice bars, they speak about walking through the ocean in the middle of winter. What about running up and down the MCG
In your full kit.
in full kit at 10:30 at night when the place is empty? Your teammates are downstairs. I know they've had a loss tonight, but normally they're winning downstairs, celebrating, getting ready to celebrate or do whatever they're going to do. And young Toby Bedford's doing laps of the MCG all by himself.
Fresh too down there.
Did either of you ever have the old sub vest where you were almost guaranteed to come onto the ground, so you wouldn't be doing as much post game?
You know what's strange? I actually asked that question last night. I've never done it. I never did it. But the question I asked last night is, what were the rules back then? So we have the medical sub now, which we're all aware of, that someone has to come from the ground for medical reasons for the medical sub to be activated. When you used to wear the bib, what did you have to do to get on?
Just to change up, I think.
Oh, was it so? I can't even remember. I was talking about it last night.
Yeah, there wasn't a rule like if you're injured or anything like that. If someone's struggling, get him off. Get
At
some
any
fresh
stage
legs on.
you could come on.
Yeah, you could
I
pull the
can't
trigger.
remember
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Who was the Gio was probably the best.
That's right. He became that's right.
Springs to mind.
Super sub.
It was the stub. It was a stub of the toe to get over that. Awards now, the toughest player out there, and there are a few of them tonight for Hard Yakka legendary gear.
Well, special mention to Petty, who I touched on before with the shoulder. I'm going with Sam Reid. The man had 10 tackles tonight. Oh, we spoke about, and I spoke about multiple times about him needing to kick goals. What about the big fellow just dishing up 10 tackles as well? So I thought that deserves to be the toughest player for Hard Yakka tonight.
10 tackles, 3 goals to his name as well. Was pivotal inside 50 for the Swans. Hard Yakka for a new breed of legends. Goal of the game for Host Plus, an industry super fund for all Australians.
Well, we sat right behind this one, and you called it too, Nick. Errol Goulden, just to be able to go back and take it upon himself. Huge moment in the game. Tied legs. We saw, as you spoke about, an amazing goal kicker, Bailey Fritz, miss one off the other end, and Papley as well. Both notable goal kickers, and most of the time they do kick them very well, but on that occasion they didn't.
Given a couple of his goals were on the highlights reel this week, but tipped at the post for the goal of the game for Host Plus, an industry super fund for all Australians. The most improved player throughout the game for Valvoline. Which oil keeps your business moving? You know, Valvoline.
You are very, very good at that, by the way. I'm going with Paddy McCartan. Now, I thought Paddy McCartan was good again tonight, but I want to go a little bit broader and say his football journey and to where he is right now. So he's had the 15 disposals, a handful of intercept marks, but from where he was, and you can even take out the concussions just for a split moment, but his football at St Kilda is the key forward, and what he's been for the entire first half of this football season is incredible. You would not know that he hasn't played much football as a key defender. Reads the ball really well. Gets it at its highest point. Happy to go shoulder to shoulder with the key forwards of the opposition. Backs in his own marking ability opposed to always spoiling it. I think he is already a superb defender in this league.
So I asked you earlier whether or not you ever saw this potential in him to play such a key defensive role. Your answer was you never thought you'd see him play footy
I was at
again.
that game in Ballarat where he got, and off the top of my head, his 8th concussion. It was right in front of me. He was going back with the flight of it. So at the time, I thought Paddy McCartan got himself under the football too much as a key forward, and therefore he was always just stretching backwards to take the mark, like above his head, opposed to out in front of his eyes and always coming at the football. And therefore, he was always really vulnerable to getting collision, whether it be with the head, knees in the back. Like, you get yourself in really awkward positions. So when I saw that, and I wasn't privy to all the medical information, but when you've had that many concussions and it's in your best interest not to put yourself in harm's way anymore, I think we were all in the same boat. We said, well, he was a really good, what we thought was a really good junior was coming through, to never seeing him ever play again. It was going to be really sad. Then he pops up playing in the local Sydney League, whatever that competition was that he was playing up there. But I never saw even these glimpses as a key forward at St Kilda. Like, he had some moments where he'd take a really good grab. The delivery was horrific at particular stages with the Saints, in that sort of time frame that he was there. But what we're seeing tonight, no, I never saw Paddy McCartan ever being a key defender, let alone standing next to his brother and being a little tag team. It's brilliant. Love it.
It's one of the best, the Melbourne defensive combinations pretty hard to beat, but they are quickly becoming some pretty pivotal key defenders in the competition.
Well, it felt like Max Gawn was controlling the air through the middle of the ground, and then you've got the two McCartan brothers just behind the football controlling it in the defensive 50 for the Swans. It was fantastic. Great contest.
It was, and he improved as the game went on. The most improved player for Valvoline, the original engine oil. I'll get your unmissable moments for Drinkwise. Choose to drink wise. You won't miss a moment if you drink wise after the break. So I know cracks his ego. No, we can go. We'll do it.
You sure, Matthew?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. You sure?
Okay,
sure.
Mate, I'm just getting the info fed into the ear from the producer who just sat in front of the camera for the last 15 minutes.
Bit of airtime.
Bit of hang time.
I'd have to say Isaac Heaney's goal, and he's, as you spoke about, the TW just on the right side of his chin, lost it in the air. Jaden Hunt came over the top, might have thought he got a free, or was deserved of a free kick, but looking back on the replay, and just bounced off his chin, lost it for a second, then all of a sudden back into the breadbasket. So I thought that was a unmissable moment of the game.
Well, we have chest marks, but now we've got a cheek mark. I love it.
And a cheek mark. And it left a mark on the cheek.
It stung a little bit too.
On a cold night. It was a little A little wet too tonight.
Yeah, but we saw Zach Tui get a little scuff on the forehead last night from Bailey Smith. I wonder if there's a little scuff on the cheek.
The lace maybe of the Sharon, or
Not ideal on a cold evening.
I'm glad him, not me. That was the unmissable moment for Drinkwise. Choose to drink wise if you won't miss a moment.
One of the unmissable moments just then is one of the strength and conditioning coaches kicking the ball to Toby Bedford, just kicking it along the ground. Get it up to him, son. Just give it. Just up. He's over in his haunches at the moment.
It's an unmissable moment. It's an unmissable target. He hasn't hit Toby Bedford once, and poor Toby's on his haunches inside forward 50, saying, "Any danger, you just put it out in front for me, please."
We might need,
Look at him. He's cooked. The poor fella, he's absolutely cooked, and the strength and conditioning guy's chuckling.
we might need the defib to get out there at the moment. Our match wrap is all thanks to Rolled. It's fast, fresh Vietnamese. And stand by because we're going to be opening up the lines very shortly on the Southern Phone open line. Switch and say with Southern Phone mobile plans. You can get on hold 1300 736 736. Damo is going to be taking you through after 11 o'clock, so he'll answer all your calls. But we'll be back with the votes on the other side of this. It was the Swans by 12 points at the MCG tonight. Matthew Cox, Andrew Cracker and Nick Dalsando with you on AFL Nation.
You're listening to the 2022 Premiership season on AFL Nation for Beaumont Tiles. Hybrid flooring in store now.
Footy fans, the AFL Record has all your news and analysis. Read how the pieces in the Premiership puzzle are starting to fall into place for the Fremantle Dockers and their coach, Justin Longmuir. Enjoy weekly features like the Kids page and team lists, plus a special on Hawthorn Premiership teammates Luke Bruce and Liam Shields ahead of their milestone 250. Brought to you by 4 and 20, Australia's original fan food. The AFL Record Round 12 edition. Available on game day and still only $5.
On the SEN app, check out the SENW channel with stars of women's sport at home and abroad. Daisy Pierce, Katie Brown, Stephanie Brance. Plus, on the SENW channel,
we cover AFLW, Rugby League, W League, netball, cricket, and track the female stars of horse racing and more.
for the latest news, interviews, and catch-up podcasts with the biggest names in women's sport, jump on the SENW channel. Download the SEN app now.
Hi, it's Adam Liao. Australian Made Week kicks off on the 6th of June, and it's time to celebrate and support our local makers and growers all around the country. Buying authentic Aussie products with the Australian Made logo helps boost our economy, supports local business, and creates jobs right across Australia. So, look for the famous green and gold logo and buy something genuinely this Australian Made Week, because